Sarah Pipkin to join us. Sarah is part of the University Colleges in London, UCL, and she's going to talk about small exhibition, big impact, and using tours. So Sarah, welcome to Bang, and whenever you're ready, do please share your wisdom with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So, hello. As was mentioned, I'm from UCL Special Collections. I'm just going to start off by giving a bit of information about us. So we are part of the University College London. We're not a standalone library, but we're part of that larger organization. That said, our collections and our exhibitions are open to everyone. We have an outreach team that runs programs to try and take our collections to other audiences. We're involved with multiple exhibitions around UCL. But the main output of our exhibition's work is the annual Library Services exhibition in the main library. So that is an exhibition where we're able to include original copies of material. It's the one where we have sole control over its curation, its advertisement, etc. Our exhibitions on our Bloomsbury campus are managed by the Outreach and Exhibitions Coordinator. 1/3 of their role is solely devoted to working on exhibitions. That is the role that I was in until November when I started acting up in a different position. And they're generally curated by 3 volunteers from across our LCOS department, so you can have a wide range of people involved in putting the exhibitions together. So these exhibitions, this is some pictures of the actual cases that we have in the main library. It's not a huge space. The main library is a listed building, so it does put restrictions on where we can actually put the cases. To get into the main library, you have to take a main staircase up from the entry gates up into the library itself. The big case that is set into the wall, that is on the first landing of that staircase. And then we have the 2 other smaller flat cases, one on the second landing next to the lift, and one a couple of minutes walk away next to the library returns area. Where everyone needs to use that staircase to get into the library, it's quite good in terms of like people walking by it, especially students, but it's not great in terms of measuring who is actually stopping and looking at it. Just because someone's come through the library gates doesn't mean that they are actually stopped and looked at the material. And the space makes it very challenging to see if people are engaging with this material, collect feedback from them. So for our current exhibition, Hidden in Plain Sight, the exhibition is focusing on work that we're doing across UCL Library Services to highlight diverse voices in our collections, to address biases in our cataloging and classification. And we wanted this work and this exhibition to be as accessible as we're trying to make the collections. So we wanted to find a solution that would help improve access, that would help improve our stats collection so we can understand who is coming and actually seeing the exhibition, and also improve feedback collection. So we thought tours would be a great way of doing that. So when putting these tours together, we planned for them to be an hour long, advertised them for 45 minutes, but they tended to actually be an hour. They're only offered on weekdays, but we offered them on a mixture of afternoon and 6 p.m. slots. They're all free, they're all open to the public. Because you book on Eventbrite, you get a ticket automatically issued to you, which we could use to include additional information, like a YouTube video to help people find the actual space. UCL can be very difficult to navigate if you're not already familiar with the buildings. But also with that ticket, if you're an external user, that is something that you can show a member of our security team and say, I'm here for an exhibition, and they can redirect them to the right place to go, which we thought was very important for making people feel welcome in what is a university building, of just really emphasizing that you don't need a UCL ID card to get into the space. And if you're not sure if you're allowed access, here's something that says you can come in. And if they opted in when ordering a ticket, we'd automatically email them a well, not automatically, but we'd email them a link to an online feedback form. Yes, so when thinking about the resources that we already had for putting these tours together, we had in total 4 staff members who were able to support these tours. So I, as sort of the exhibition project manager, was available, but also the 3 curators involved with putting content together. We all had a pretty good overview of the themes in the exhibition, so we were able to give a bit more information to our attendees. We have in Special Collections a pre-existing events email list. We have contacts with UCL departments so they could share information about the tours to their students. And we already had pre-existing Eventbrite page. We had social media that we could use for advertising. So we could just pull from those resources we're already familiar with and were freely available. The things that we were concerned about going into it was the limit on the space. So with that main case being in landing of the staircase that you get used to access the library, can't really let large groups in to view the exhibition. So we did have to cap the number of tickets to 8 people. And we don't have many options for public advertising. Don't have an advertising budget. We don't have a massive budget for exhibitions, so we weren't able to pay additional, we weren't able to put additional funds towards advertising. So we've been running these tours since August. They've sort of slowed down as we've hit the academic year, but we're already seeing a really big impact from the tours. So far, we've had 88 people attend, which is averaging about 3 people per tour, which with the space is really ideal. We've only collected 14 feedback responses, and I'll get to why in a bit. But most importantly, we've done a lot to improve the visibility of Special Collections and of these exhibitions to both internal and external audiences. So I've got some more stats about sort of who's come and their experience. This is just a breakdown of those 88 attendees. The vast majority of them were internal audiences, so UCL staff and students, but they weren't necessarily our normal users. They were often people from the sciences departments or other departments across UCL. And 32% of our visitors were external audiences. Of those 14 feedback responses, we asked them to rate the exhibition out of 5 stars. The majority of people gave us a 5-star rating. We did get one 1-star rating, but the comments were all positive, so I think that might have been an error. On that same feedback form, we asked people to rank out of 10 how likely they were to visit Special Collections again. And majority of responses were 10 for being very likely to return. No one answered any lower than 5, which is really encouraging. And we asked people if they're already aware of UCL's Liberating the Collections program. Majority of people were not. So this is a great way to let people know more about our collections and also about the work that we're doing internally. I have some examples of feedback comments. I'm not going to go into these in too much detail. The main point that I want to make with these is that I've taken a comment from feedback responses for each person who is involved with running a tour. So the impact of these tours, it wasn't necessarily that we had one person who's just really good at public speaking, but all 4 of us who worked together to deliver these tours were able to have this really positive impact on people. And I think, you know, yes, all 4 of us are happy to run the tour in the first place, but just having someone that people can talk to and learn more about the material about can do a lot for just improving how people engage with this material. There are some areas where we want to improve in the future. So we did have issues with low turnout. Sometimes only one person would show up for a tour. Sometimes no one would show up. That might be related to us trying to find the best time slot to run these. We're struggling a little bit with finding the right way to publicize it, but I'll touch on that a bit more in a moment. With Eventbrite, we asked people to opt in to us following up after the tour to collect feedback. Not everyone opted in. And then that is quite a laborious process. So we're hoping to find a way that works with data protection where we can just automate that a bit, which might increase that feedback response rate. And accessibility is an ongoing issue. Like you need to use some stairs. That's going to automatically make part of the exhibition inaccessible. Where we have been able to raise our profile with the tours with internal audiences, though, we've been able to make a lot more progress in sort of addressing the issue of publicity. So other organizations who might be part of universities, it can be a bit difficult to sort of get that like prime front page university sort of advertising slot. But because the people who run those web pages would come to the tours, we were able to sort of build those internal contacts. So now on the Explore UCL page, alongside other sort of like student tours, there's now a link to UCL Special Collections exhibition tours. And we think that next year when we do tours again, we'll have much better connections that we can reach wider audiences with our advertising. So just to wrap up, tours are quite an easy and cost-effective way to try and bring in new audiences and measure the impact that you're having on audiences. The only cost for us for the tours is staff time. And because we are scheduling the time slots ourselves, we can sort of work around staff schedules and make it fit for us. Our exhibition, it covers things like cataloging workflows and backlogs of uncatalogued materials, things that I didn't necessarily think the general public would be interested in. They really are. Like if you have someone there who can explain to them what cataloging is and how those those backlogs work, they'll ask really interesting questions. So even if it does seem like a theme that might be a bit niche, as long as you're giving people an opportunity to actually show up and learn from someone and get more context, they will come and they will ask really interesting questions. I cannot sort of overstate how much of an impact these tours had. Like even if you have like 2 people show up to your tour, I never ran a tour where someone was completely disengaged. We had people who had absolutely no prior knowledge about special collections, about libraries. They just saw a free tour and were like, great, something to do. And they would ask the most challenging, the most interesting questions. And they'd learn from each other in the groups. It's really encouraging to see rather than it just being something that we put in the case and we hope people are engaging with. You can see that engagement yourselves. So I have some links which you can take a look at later and just some acknowledgements. And that is everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much.